Hello and welcome. So this is my next installment in the series of videos that I'm doing looking at the data published by the National Residency Matching Program. So as you remembered in the last video, I reviewed the National Residency Matching Program survey of the applicants, and we looked at the results from the 2021 survey of all the applicants who consented or responded to the survey. And there was, I believe, the response rate, if I remember right, about 18.8% or almost 19% of a response rate, even better than the program director survey that we looked at before. So what I want to do today in this video is to look at the results specific to the survey of applicants that applied to neurology as their primary specialty. So we have looked at all the specialties combined previously, and today I'm going to focus just on neurology. And if you have not looked at my previous video, it might be better to go back and look at the previous video looking at all specialties combined result first, and then focus in on neurology specifically. As you know, neurology is my interest. I'm the clerkship director for neurology, and I need to know what the data looks like on neurology. So this is neurology survey, neurology part of the survey where they have 298 applicants who have responded to the survey. So again, it may be closer to 20% or so of all the applicants in neurology. I think the total applicants were over 1,000, if I remember it right. So let's look at some of the data. So starting with figure neurology 1, um, the first figure again is looking at percent of USMD seniors who are citing each factor and the mean importance rating for each factor in selecting a program for application. So not for ranking, but for application, and this is for USMD senior. And again, they have listed it in order of how many people thought that this was important, going down, and then also mean importance rating for each of those factors. So let's look at what are those factors that the US fourth year students from medical school thought was important. Desired geographic location seems to be the single most important factor for US MD seniors, and most MD seniors wants to stay locally, or go to a place where which is maybe more closer to family if they're doing medical school away from it. And then again, perceived goodness of fit. These were important factors too, overall, but in neurology seem to be very important. I think perceived goodness was probably within the top three, but desired geographic location has clearly risen up for neurology as compared to other programs. Quality of residents working in program, I put a lot of stress on this one, that this is important and that what builds the reputation of program. If you train your residents well, you're a reputable program, and that speaks highly about your faculty, that speaks highly about the work-life balance, on quality of educational curriculum and training, and academic programs usually are more reputable than the community programs, and also speaks highly of quality of program director and faculty. So all of these factors that we are looking at in terms of the top factors are all linked with probably the quality of residents in the program. And then they are all very rightly so highly rated by the neurology applicants when applying for a particular program. But academic program seems to be considered by a lot of applicants who responded to the survey. And then if we look at everything that's uh, above 60% or so, like last time we did, then in addition to those that we have talked about so far, career paths of recent program graduates again speaks for the quality of residents. If they have been very good residents, they will likely go into very prestigious fellowships or jobs in very prestigious institutions. Size of program seems to matter. Usually in neurology, programs are very small, but a decent sized program actually does better. So four more than residents per year usually are better programs than those who are only one or two. They may be new programs, or they don't have that much of a patient load. Future fellowship training opportunities in the institution seems to be very important by 75% and are rated at 4.3. And I think that's very valuable, as we talked previously in my previous video, that most fellowship programs are very strongly inclined to take the residents that they have trained. Because see, if I'm a fellowship program director for movement disorders fellowship, and I'm also curriculum director for residents, then I know the residents and I've trained them. And I would love to take one or two of those who are interested in movement disorders. And usually I am their mentor. So they have talked to me early on in my institution that they want to do movement disorders, and often I have been training them and trying to convince them, training them for going for a movement disorder fellowship and a career in movement disorders, and also usually I'm trying to recruit them for my program in my fellowship program. So this is very important that if you don't have a fellowship in your program, which also speaks for the academic medical center program, then if you're applying to a program from outside as an external candidate, uh, you will have much less of a chance if they have an internal candidate, if their own resident wants to take on that fellowship. So that's important. Let's see what else. So, social recreational opportunities, I wouldn't worry about it. Rotation schedules and structures, again, I'm not sure how valuable that is because as an outsider, without having done a residency, how would you know how to evaluate this? You can take others' feedback, but really it all hinges down to quality of residence. If you really think the residents are high quality based on their academic pass rate, their future paths in career, their fellowships, then all of these things become less of a marker or measure of a quality of education or training in that program. Diversity of patient problems is somewhat useful, not a lot. There are some diseases you would just never see as a resident. House staff morale is more important. I think house staff morale will tie into quality of residence work and quality of education. As I've talked previously, if the program is underfunded, is always stressed out, they're going to lose faculty, they're going to lose staff, staff morale would be low, faculty morale would be low, and it will be hard to get a good training in such a program. Preparation for fellowship training, again, is secondary. Often that would tie into future fellowship training opportunities at that institution. Quality of hospital facilities is very important, as I mentioned. Again and again, everything runs on money. So you want to make sure that the program has decent amount of money, as you can see by the facilities they have, the morale of the house staff, morale of the faculty, and all the support and perks available. So that would, that's something that just, is underruns the whole. It's what floats the boat of a residency program. And then, call schedule again. It's not very important. Seriously, call schedules can change. So you might come into your first year after having looked at a call schedule. And you come into your second year, your first year of neurology, and then a whole call schedule has been changed. So this is something you can change from inside as being part of it. So not very reliable information. And everything else, less than 60% of people thought that was important. I'm going to quickly skim through it, see if there's anything that stands out to me as important. Leave policies, diversity, future job opportunities. They may or may not be that important, especially if you want to stay in that program or not. Conduct research, wellness, social specific procedures, other support networks in the area, job opportunity for spouse, it may be important for you. Um, Board pass rates, that will be extremely important. If there is more than one or two failures in the last 3 years of graduates, then that's a red flag. Any decent program should train the residents enough that they should pass the boards very easily. So that speaks actually to the quality of the residents' education. So how do you test quality of residents at that program? Well, there is some subjective things while we're interacting with them, but the objective numbers will be their right exam scores, their board pass rates, their future career, what fellowships they went into, what jobs they took, how competitive were those jobs. And that's what tell you the quality of the residents, not necessarily just talking to the residents. So board pass rate is important. Um, Quality eventually also salary, none of these are important. Perception of the resident concern about infectious disease, community-based settings. Um, Structure type of electronic health record, quality of ambulatory care facilities, duty coverage to attend conferences, upload income, house, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I think none of them are that important. The really important were the top half, and I think was rightly pointed out by the wisdom of the crowd. And if all of the following questions below 50% do have certain implications. So of course I'm not talking about any specific cases here. I'm talking about generalities. So if you have more specific question, I might be able to address that. How it relates to you, for example, how does duty coverage to attend conferences have an impact on your residency? How about moonlighting opportunities have your impact on residency? So all of those things that you may not be very mindful of in the future, but each of this will be a long discussion, and maybe I can do a separate video talking about what is the implication of each of these questions, and then it may or may not apply to you. Right? The things that I've talked about so far are generalities and which are applicable to almost all of you, but you know, some of these questions become more specific to your own scenarios, and that's where it's more important to really, narrow down and understand in more depth what exactly that mean and how does it look like during a residency program. So I've seen all of those scenarios, lived through it, so I can talk about it if necessary. So that was the USMD seniors. So let's go down to next table, which is USDO seniors and figure 9.2. I'm going to skip that as I've been skipping the DO seniors throughout my videos. Um, so percent of other applicant types, which again includes the MD school graduates and DO graduates who are outside of their normal routine year. So they're a year late, but mostly it applies to international medical graduates, either they're US citizen or not, doesn't matter. And now let's look at how they perceive the same questions. And here, as you can see, two big changes already. Number one, there is a lot less stress on those important factors that we looked at before, which were the geographic location. IMGs don't have geographic ties, or they don't care about it because the primary importance is to get a residency program, regardless of where they get it. And then the perceived goodness of it is still considered important, but not that important. Reputation of program and quality of residence work is still important, and surprisingly and smartly, they are rating it higher than almost everything else. So 4.5 in terms of importance, 66.2% thought was important. So if you multiply the two, this might be the single most highly rated component of the whole, if you multiply weightage with the percent saying it's important. And I think that's rightly so because maybe the IMGs have more on the pulse of the hand that forget the geography and perceived goodness and reputation, everything else. What really builds reputation is the quality of residence in that program. And people coming from other countries, leaving their families and culture, they're extremely competitive. They're very ambitious. They really want to have best of the training possible. And I think they're focused on really an important point here. Let's see what else they thought more than 60% important. They thought quality of educational curriculum training, which again ties to the early thing, academic program ties to the same thing, quality of program director and faculty ties into the same thing, and all of them are highly rated. Actually, this is a pretty close tie. Quality of program director is again 66.2% thought important and 4.6. So this might actually beat the quality of residence. So here, the IMGs might be thinking that the program director is the pivotal person determining the quality of residence in that program. And there might be some truth in it, but really program director is he holds or gels the program together, but he's really more of a glorified administrator. Now, if a program director is watching this video, I'm sorry, I hate to say this and apologize, but really the job of program director is to fill out the surveys, make sure residents are on time, make sure the schedules are fine, make sure the duty hours are okay, make sure the ACGME is fine, complying with all the ACG regulation, following up with other faculty, making them on board, getting their credentials every year, and so on and so forth. So there's hundreds of thousands of things that a program director has to do to keep a program running up to date. So yes, he's important to make sure the program doesn't fall apart. But in terms of quality of educational curriculum and training, he may have a less of a role. It may be somebody else who he has delegated to focus on that, and it may be the rest of the faculty have more of a role in education there rather than the program director. But I think there is some truth to it. The program director quality speaks volume about what the program is going to look like and what the residence quality will be. Above 60%, cost of living seems to be important. I think don't pay too much focus on it. I will ignore it. Again, it's a long discussion, but we can have a separate discussion maybe on each one of these separately. That might be a good idea that I might should do videos just talking about two or three of these factors and how they interpolate or correlate with the residency and what's pros and cons of, for example, size of program. What's the pros and cons of a small size program or a big size program? For example, fellowship training opportunities. What's the pros of having fellowship program and what's the downside or cons of having fellowship programs for a residency program? And there are some. Maybe we'll do a separate discussion on it. But of course, rightly so, having fellowship training opportunities might be valuable if you want to do fellowship. And above 60% will be diversity. It might be that the IMGs feel more comfortable in a more diverse environment. But again, if they're taking you as an equal, and they're really giving you a chance to prove yourself. And there might be some implicit biases built in, especially if they have not had experience with a lot of foreign medical graduates. But I think if you're a type of person that they're accepting, then they are willing to give you a fighting chance of proving yourself. And I think, if you fight up, if you really like the program, don't worry about the diversity. Go for it and build your career. And really, you can pull it off if you really work hard. That I'm sure you would. And then everything else below that, all the way down to the visa sponsorship, which is considered important by much more significant number of people as compared to USMD seniors, and rightly so, because there's a lot of international medical graduates in this pool of other applicant types. So that was figure 3 on applicants' impression of those applying to neurology, foreign medical graduates and MD graduates. And then the question is ranking. So all of those factors we looked at was for applying to the program. But when you're ranking, what becomes more valuable? Here, USMD seniors are looking at these factors, and now overall goodness of fit became really, really important, almost most highly rated, 4.8 and 86.7, while interview day experience was also extremely important for them. There's a pros and cons to it, just like everything else, and maybe I should do videos on each one of them. But I think this is paying too much attention to something. Interview day experience is a single day experience, usually not even a whole day, it's usually a few hours. And it's very curated experience. It's staged. They have a lot of work done to stage it for you, and you have done a lot of work for yourself to stage yourself, to really present yourself. So it's like selling a house, that's not how people live. When you walk in to look at their house, looking all pretty and, clean and neat and empty, and, and you make a choice based on that. So, and that has a value. So, for example, let me tell you a story. One of my mentors, Dr. Tai, he was part of an interviewing of a new faculty candidate. So, a fellow in some other program was coming into our program to interview to get a position as a faculty once he finishes fellowship. And Dr. Tai rejected him because um, he was wearing, uh, so he was wearing something that was too casual. Now, the point is not that what he was wearing was casual and is not acceptable. The point is that this is his best presentation, and it's only downhill from there, right? So this is the best you can do. So when you walk into a staged house, especially a model home, this is the best that house can look. It's not that, oh, I can take it and I can make it even better. It's usually, okay, I can take it, and then even if it's 20% less prettier, it'll still be great. And that's the same thing with the program, is the same thing with the applicant. So interview day experience, counts for quite a bit. So if there are red flags, it's really, really important to not ignore them. So even if on the interview day there are red flags, then who knows how the rest of the day is gonna be. But let's say there was no red flags, but the program didn't have a oomph in it. The program wasn't amazing on the day of experience, although you had a high expectation. And even afterwards, when you thought about it, everything else looks great. The residents are going to a great program, they're matching, they're having fellowship, there's fellowship in that program, and so on and so forth. I think then the interview day experience really doesn't mean much. So mixed feelings. So I don't know how much value. We could debate this some more and say if interview day experience really matters too much, but I'm not so sure. Geographic location remains important as expected. This is probably the single most important thing people think about when going into a program. Quality of residence have now come down in importance when ranking. Reputation and quality of program director has gone up, which is surprising because really now, after talking to the residents, when you really can see them and understand, are they overworked? Are they stressed out? Are they frustrated? Do they have short temper? Are they sweet? Can they handle complaints and questions from you, and so on and so forth? Quality of faculty has come down in ranking, which is okay. You're only going to see a few selected faculty, not all of them. And above 60% is almost nothing else. And then, really what we are hanging our hat on is the reputation of program, quality of program director, interview to experience and overall goodness of fit and desired geographic location. So I don't know. I think because a lot of what we thought important in applying for the program was based on what we were reading on the internet. Now we have the chance to actually see all of it, and that should become more of an important for us to rank the program. Now you really find out when you go to the program, what is the quality of the residents, what's the quality of their program faculty, what's the quality of their educational curriculum and training, and supervision, career paths of recent graduates. It's really broad because maybe you're thinking, I've applied to this program, already looking at this, but I think a lot of information is still not easily available on the internet. And you should ask questions about these things when they're important for you to apply, because don't trust on the information you got from outside. It may be incomplete, maybe old information. And then, all of these factors are rated very highly, even though not everybody saying that this is important, but those who think it's important still rate them very highly. All of these upper half of questions, and uh, cost of living is becoming important. House of staff morale has a high factor by those who think it's important and that they have rightly recognized it, but less people are recognizing this as an important factor. And in contrast, if we go down and look at the other applicants that include international medical graduate, they also believe in overall goodness of fit and interview to experience as the two most important factors in ranking a program. But and this is more than what they looked at when they were applying for the program. So more people for ranking looked at these factors compared to when the people were applying, less people looked at it. And they are rating it very highly. So they're thinking that overall goodness fit is very important. Desired geographic location is less important for international medical graduates, and rightly so, but what saddens me is that they think less people think that the quality of residents and reputation of program and quality of program director is important. Now, this has even fallen as compared to the before. There is something about quality that you can only get when you actually talk to a person. So I'm not when you're applying and you're looking at quality of a program director and then you're applying to a program based on that, what would you look at? That person's publications, that person's reputation in their field. How would you judge that person's quality as a program director? Now, he may be a great neurologist, he may be a wonderful stroke neurologist and a movement disorder neurologist, but how great is he as a program director? And usually, just like when you look at someone as a movement disorder neurologist, you want to look at the publication and research they do, in their clinical reputation, their training in the field, how many courses they teach. But how would you say that a program director is good or bad? And that should depend on quality of the residents and the outcome of the residents and outcome of the program and the curricular design and the facilities available and so on and so forth. Does he fight for the residents? Does he get them a good call room and things like that? And a lot of that information you only find out when you actually go and look at the program. So quality of program director is more important in ranking than in applying, because when you're applying, you don't have access to the information you really need to assess a program director. You may have information to assess him as a neurologist or a researcher or a scientist, a clinician. So that should be very, very important, more in ranking than in applying for a program. Quality of faculty is important, just like you have said, and then many things hit the 60% majority, and then less people are now concerned about H-1B visa and J-1 visa when ranking, which again is surprising because when you're applying, of course, you'll apply broadly even to those programs who don't offer H-1B or J-1. But when you are ranking, now this is more important. And although people who are ranking, who think it's important, are ranking very highly, 4.9 and 4.7, but for an international medical graduate, this might be more important than that. So, and then everything else is considered important by less people, although many of these things are considered very important by those who think it's important. So let's look at that. So anything above 4.5. So 4.6 is for curriculum, academic program, and what else is more than 4.5? 4.6 is job opportunities for spouse. And this is very situation specific. And 4.6 is presence of a previous match violation. Not many people think it's important, but who think it's important thinks it rates it very highly. And then other benefits And then I'm not sure what please specify answer were, but it was rated as 5. So 2% have very specific other benefits that they were looking for. So these are very individual specific issues, not something that we can generalize on. All right, moving forward, let's see what other information we have. Percentage of applicants citing different ranking strategies by applicant type. So what are these applicant types? We have the USMD seniors and we have the others, which are, let's say, majority will be international medical graduates. And what are the different ranking strategies they use and how much? Number one, I ranked all programs at which I interviewed, all programs. So 73% of MD seniors and 75% of international medical graduates, other applicants, thought they would rank everybody, everything. So almost three-fourths and pretty close, probably not statistically significant in neurology. So remember, only 298 applicants are answering the survey. So 75, so three-fourths of the people will rank all programs. So that is good and bad. It's the question is that why they're not, why one-fourth of them are not ranking all programs, and maybe they're finding things that were just not fair. Maybe it's visa issue. If you're an international medical graduate, they don't offer visa, and you found out after going there, or program director has changed, or they're saying, well, we have offered it, but we're not sure. We'll do it in the future. Of course, you're not going to rank that program, but would you rather go unmatched than not rank that program? See, that's the choice here. A quarter of the people are saying that there are some programs we are not willing to go even if we are unmatched, right? Because the more programs you rank, the more your chance of matching. And then there is a peak that hits about, I think for ranking it was anywhere from, for neurology was 12 programs. So after you have ranked 12 programs, you have the full chance of ranking or of matching, which was about 97.7% or something for USMD senior at least. Overall, I'm not sure what it was, but pretty high, 90, probably 90 plus. I don't remember very well. But if you're only ranking some of your program and you're missing a program and you don't have 12 programs to rank, you had 12 programs to rank that you have interviewed, but you ranked 10 of them or 9 of them, then you are lowering your chance, but not by a whole lot much. And you can go back and look at my neurology specific match outcome video. The curve flattens pretty fast. So I think it goes up, slopes up to from none to about 7 programs or so, and it starts becoming flat, and then it hits the peak at 12, and after 12 it's completely flat. So between 7 and 12, if you are in that range and you're not ranking one program, you're stepping down your chances a little bit, but not by a whole lot. But if you're not ranking 2 or 3 programs, then you might be stepping down by a whole much. So all program doesn't explain if the rest of the quarter are not ranking one of all programs or 2 of all programs or more. So that information I don't know if we have. I ranked all programs that I was willing to attend. So this is interview. Now, I ranked all programs that I was willing to attend. So, willing to attend, meaning that I'm not sure what that means, because interviewed should mean that they went there and attended the program as an applicant. So, this may be I was willing to attend, may mean that you're willing to join as a resident. And if that's so, that should be 100%, right? Why would you not rank a program that you will not join? So I'm not sure what that I was willing to attend mean, and then that's why maybe half of the people in other applicants are unsure how to answer this question, and I'm not sure either how to interpret it. I rank one or more less competitive programs in my preferred specialty as a safety net. Now this is interesting, right? So safety net. The idea of safety net is that there's a program that's not great, but it's better than not being matched at all, right? So that's what I was talking about in ranking all programs where you interviewed. And this is kind of the indirect way of looking at safety net. Now, USMD seniors, more than 50% or almost 50% are saying we will rather rank a program that is less competitive, meaning that it could mean anything. But now let's here presume that it means that it's not that great to join as a resident, but it's better than not having anything. So I would rather not waste a year, and than to to attend a program I'm not that good about, not great about. While in international medical graduate, the answer is 26% saying I will rank those programs as a safety net. Now, this is confusing because other applicants includes people who are either late by a year, they're MD graduates or DO graduates, or international medical graduates. Now, these people should be 100% ranking a safety net. They would rather go unmatched than rank a program that they don't think is great. So again, there may be some confusion about the question. 50% seems reasonable. Rest of the 50% saying, "Oh, I don't need a safety net," or they're thinking, "Well, I could go in post match, or I can go into next year's program." Fine. If you are confident about yourself and you say, "I would rather stay unmatched and take my chances than go into a program I do not like." Fine. You're a citizen, you have other things to do, you can do research, you come back into match next year. The other applicant types should not have that luxury, probably do not have that luxury. What you gonna do for 1 year if you don't match into a program, even if it was less than below your standards? So that it's really bothers me. Either I can only think of two explanations. One, they don't understand the question, or two, those programs are so horrible that they think are below their standards that they would rather just take the chances next year. So I would doubt there is such bad, horrible programs. Maybe, but I don't know. It's surprising to see the result of this question. All right, I ranked one or more programs where I applied but did not interview. I did not know you could rank those, but I guess you can. So I am surprised, but I think there were a couple I refused interviews and I did not rank them. I only ranked the programs where I interviewed, and that was 2006 or something. And I thought that you could not rank a program where you have not interviewed. And maybe most people think so. That's why only 4% of IMGs and 8% of MD seniors are saying, "Oh, I ranked a program where I did not interview." The question will be, would the program rank you if you have not interviewed there? So they may not rank you at all if you have not interviewed there, unless you communicate with them that you are ranking them, although you did not get a chance to interview with them, but you still like the program enough that you're gonna take your chances. So I don't know. Probably not useful to rank them if they're not ranking you. I rank programs in the order of my preferences, and answer is 96% and 82%. Now, the question is, the rest of the 4%, which probably is not that significant, the rest of these 18%, what order they used if they did not use their preferential order? Did they use the order to say, what are my chances of being matched to a program? And in that sense, then they will put up those programs which are less competitive higher and more competitive lower, because although they're greater, so if you look at the list, it will be inverted, that the best programs will be down here, which of course will be more competitive, and the lowest program will be up here. That's a very bad strategy. You know, this is not how match work, and maybe there is still some confusion about, can you increase your chances of matching by ranking the programs in the order that you have your chances of matching in, or which basically mean that how much they like you, or how weak other candidates were, right? Those are the only two things that increase your chance of matching in a program. If you think that the program likes you more, and it's not a great program, but you're ranking up high, or if you think that the other applicants were bad or poor and you were a better applicant and your chances are high, you're ranking them up, but you don't like that program because you you know because other applicants were not that good, right? Um, it does not increase your chances of matching into that program. Your chance of matching into that program is the same regardless of where you rank it on the list. If you take away your factor, your chances become low in a program by ranking it lower because you chose someone else above them, not because they chose someone above you. If they chose someone above you, then it doesn't matter if you rank them low or high. You will not get there. It's complicated because other pro applicants are also ranking, and They may or may not match with them, or they may have ranked someone else above you, but that person may have ranked someone else above them, and so on and so forth. But we can go around circles debating it, and there's, I'm sure, hundreds of videos out there discussing this topic. But the bottom line is that the you should not rank based on your chances of matching in a program. You should rank based on your interest in the program. If you really like a program very well, even if you have no chance in that, you think, you still rank it first. You never know. You never know. And it will not hurt your chances of matching into another program which you like less, but they may like you more. And you may have an obvious indication that they like you more. Even if you rank them lower, it you the only way you will miss that program is that you will get the better one. And that fluke happens, the black swan event happens, and you get the better one, you thought you had no chance, then you will miss that program. And that's what you wanted, right? You like the other program better. If you really like this program better, then you should rank this program higher, right? So it should be your preference. It should be your preference, and it has nothing else with any other factor. Do the best you can, and then rank them in the order of where you like them, where you want to be the most, and then the second most, and then the third most, and the fourth most, and the fifth most, and sixth most, and so on and so forth. That should be the only strategy to rank the programs. Everyone, including other applicant types, international medical graduates. I ranked the program based on the likelihood of matching, right? So that was the other scenario we're talking about, 3%. So this like three out of these 4% who did not rank in preference matched their way. But these are the 12 out of 18%. These are the 12 honest percentages. These are the 12 honest people, right? So there is 18 people here missing. The six are dilly-dallying. Six are saying, oh no, there were other reasons, this and that. Maybe there were, but I doubt it. So 6% of 298, so 1% will be 3, 6% will be 18. There are 18 people here who are saying, I didn't rank them on my preference, and I didn't rank them based on my likelihood. I ranked them with some other formula. I know you took um, um, you took random draws, or you toss up a coin, or I don't know how you rank them, but I think this is the answer, that if you didn't rank them on your preference, then you rank them on the likelihood of your matching, really. And accept this, or do some internal analysis. All right, so let's go down and see what other information they have. All right, new median number of applicants, interviews, and program ranked by applicant type and match outcome. All right, so these are the data from applicants, and we're looking at applications submitted by those who matched. And let's see what these color mean. So light blue is USMD senior, and dark blue is the other applicant type. So those are the two we'll look at. We'll ignore the DO seniors, which seems to be usually in between the other two. So the people who matched, they applied to 30 programs if they were MD seniors, and 92 programs if they were um, other applicants. So let's say international medical graduate for sake of simplicity. And then the interviews offered were 16 out of 30. So the chance of getting an interview was 50%, while 7 out of 92 for international medical graduates and MD graduates. So that's terrible ratio. It's less than 1 in 10. So it's almost like 1 in 12. So let me do 92 divided by 7. Yeah, 1 in 13. So for every 13 applications they submitted, they got one interview. And then the interviews they attended was full 7, so they didn't miss any interview, which is good. And MD seniors had an interview exhaustion at 14, so they skipped 2, which is reasonable. I think 12 ranked, as I mentioned. So if you want to have an option of skipping 1 or 2, so you can rank 12, 14 is a good number of interviews for having a 100% chance of matching, as close to 100% as possible. In neurology, it was 97.7%. And the median number of program ranked, they ranked all 14 and they ranked all 7. So this is surprising because there was a quarter of them saying that they did not rank all the programs they interviewed at. Right here, now they're saying that they ranked 14 on average and 7 on median. So this is not average, but this is a median, which you know better by preparing for step 1 than I do now. So, but this is surprising. It should have been slightly less than 14 and slightly less than 7 compared based on the number I saw earlier. These are the people who matched, right? What happens to people who did not match? So the people who did not match, they had 33 application, so pretty close to 30, so slightly more. They were worried, and 90, so actually less application or two less. So that's not a lot. That's like one, not even 1%. So 92 compared 90 for international medical graduates and MD graduates, other applicant types. Now, out of these 33, they got 17 interviews. So the ratio remained slightly less than 50%, slightly more than 50%, right? So that's not a big factor in why they didn't rank. They interviewed 14 and then they ranked 14 and they still did not match. But these are very few number, right? If I recall it right, there was maybe 6 or 8 applicants who didn't match in neurology, but there was again those who allowed the data to be looked at, but that was like 80% of them. These are people who are applying to a survey, so they're not exact the same people. So the people who are applying to survey are 298. I don't know how many of them are MD seniors, and I don't know how many of them are the ones who did not manage. Maybe only one person or two persons, and who they're saying that they applied to 33 programs. They got interview calls from 17, interviewed in 14, and ranked all 14, and they did not match. So there's no difference here in terms of this number between those who match, not match in USMD senior. Now in international medical graduates, we're saying that 90 applications, almost same as those who matched, and they got only 5 interviews, so even less than ratio before. So it was 1 in 13, and now 90 divided by 5 will be 1 in 18. So they definitely had a weaker application, and they got less interview call. They ranked all 5. They attended all 5, and they ranked all 5. So, once you interview, then you rank everything. And with 5, the chances are, of course, less than ranking 7. Right? If you've looked at my video in terms of your chances of matching based on how many programs you ranked, you will see that the 5 is below optimum. 7 is probably minimum optimum, which is here, but it really becomes great at 12 or higher, which is here, MD seniors. All right, let's see if there's any other data. I think that's it. And then we go to OBGYN that we would not go to. So I think this is very interesting data. It's surprising to see some of the factors being picked by you guys as important when applying to a program and interviewing at a program. And there's some discrepancies there based on how I would view it. And maybe I need to do separate videos talking about each of those factors, why they are important and not important, pros and cons. It has to be multiple series of videos separately on each of those factors. There might be an interesting next project as these series are coming close to an end. And yeah, and then we looked at how many programs they applied to and got interviewed, and it's interesting. This almost better than 1 in 2 chance of being called for an interview when you apply as an MD senior, and the chance of being called for an interview is anywhere from 1 in 13 to 1 in 18 if you have good or not good application. And I'm presuming that basically if you matched, you were more likely to be invited to interview 1 in 13 applications, and if you didn't match, you were less likely to be invited to interview. That's 1 in 18 match. So that's our view of neurology applicants, and it's less than almost 300 applicants who did that. Thank you so much.